Hey everybody, this is Michael from Helloween, and you are listening to Thunder Underground.
Welcome to episode 429 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent here as always, and this week is great because as you heard right there in that intro, Michael Kiske, the lead vocalist, one of the lead vocalists of Helloween, is here on this podcast. Of course, if you're a Helloween fan, you know about the current lineup, which is not only a reunited lineup, but it's a combination lineup of a couple different eras. I'm going to talk more about that, and of course, Michael will here in this interview. But before we get into all this, I need to let you know who sponsors this podcast. Sunset Tattoo, a tattoo shop located in Midtown Tulsa. Their tattoos are done good and proper. They're state licensed, Native American owned, and they have a female artist on staff full time. 30 plus years of experience from Jake Thompson and his crew over there. If you shoot him a message or give him a call, you can set up a time to talk about what work you're looking to have done. They also accept walk-ins. If you have an idea ready to go, they can obviously help you with that, and they're also great at helping you bring your ideas to life. They've got tons of photos on their Facebook and their Instagram. Both of those are Sunset Tattoo Tulsa. Give them a follow. I've personally had work done from them. I'm super happy with it. They've tattooed lots of touring artists, lots of touring musicians throughout the years there at Sunset Tattoo. So give them a call, shoot them a message, and tell them you heard about them right here on Thunder Underground. We've also got DEB Concerts, concert promoter based right here in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. They've brought tons of great artists to the downtown Tulsa area at the arena level, at the club level, and they also book the DEB concert stage at Rocklahoma every year. This year, of course, is no different. The DEB concert stage also includes the Rocklahoma pre-party. If you have the full 3-day pass, you can check out the pre-party on Thursday night, and this is next Thursday. It's upon us. Labor Day weekend, Rocklahoma. The pre-party will feature Sebastian Bach, of course, most well known from Skid Row, the mighty Lita Ford, and Trickster. It will also feature Rocket Science. The rest of the weekend will feature sets on the DEB concert stage from Mike Tramp of White Lion. He's been on this podcast before, as have members of Rocket Science multiple times, members of Trickster. I've also got Orianthi, an amazing blues guitarist, used to be Alice Cooper's guitarist. She'll be playing one of those nights. Van Halen, a great Van Halen tribute. We've also got great friends of the podcast, Dime Store Riot, Fist of Rage, and several other acts. Rocklahoma.com to see the entire lineup, which includes great things like Bruce Dickinson and Alice Cooper. You don't want to miss it. Rocklahoma.com, DEBconcerts.com to be kept up to date on everything, and of course we keep you up to date right here. And finally, we've got Rocklahoma Bitches. They've become an institution at Rocklahoma. If you've been out there at any point in time and you've been in the campgrounds, in the VIP areas, or in that DEB concert stage I just talked about, you'll see these ladies. The Rocklahoma Bitches are very charitable. They've got tons of merch, like across the board. T-shirts, koozies, necklaces, bracelets, nipple stickers, other kind of stickers, bags. The list is great and long. They add new stuff every year and they change colors. The great point of all this is that they give all this stuff away for free. They never charge a single dime for anything they do. They also, every year, Christie will bid on the Rocklahoma guitars that go for auction. Rocklahoma auctions off guitars autographed by performing artists that year and then auction them off for charity. Christie usually walks away with at least one of those. Rocklahoma Bitches, Kendra, and Christie also sponsor Cancer Sucks every year, and this always happens in Tulsa towards the end of the year, late November, early December, at the Canes Ballroom. Great organization, of course, a great benefit. So hit up Rocklahoma Bitches when you see them, and if for some reason you hadn't heard about them before now, tell them you heard about them right here. Alright, so let's just jump into the subject at hand, and let's get into this Helloween talk with Michael. If for some reason you are a Helloween fan and you didn't know what's been going on recently, I find that hard to believe. So I'll just say this for people that might be loose fans of Helloween or of the genre of power metal and haven't been closely paying attention outside of all the classic era music that everyone knows and loves. Helloween, of course, never disbanded. They've been going strong throughout all these years. Of course, much greater acclaim and success outside of America. For those of you that are listening to this that live in the United States like myself, power metal has never been a mainstream thing in America, but it always has, I feel like, solid enough success. The shows I've been through throughout the years, not all power metal, but bands like Camelot, Nightwish, Sonata Arctica, Epica, Within Temptation, all bands that I've personally seen live throughout the years in America, whether it be Oklahoma City, Lawrence, Kansas, seems to kind of be a spot that a lot of these bands, when they tour America, always seem to hit. And, I'm saying that to say that at the shows I've been to, they've always been well attended at the club level, always that diehard fan base, which I think you could find that with most music genres. But of course, playing at the club level financially isn't as easy for a European band as it would be to play anywhere else where, you're drawing bigger crowds. So with all that said, when Helloween makes their way back to the U.S. in 2026, you should probably jump at the chance if they're within driving or even flying distance of where you're at, because that's what I think I'm going to try to do next year if it works out for me personally. Helloween, of course, Michael is from the heyday of the early days of Helloween, the Keeper of the Seven Keys era. Michael is not the original vocalist. Kai Hansen is on Walls of Jericho, another classic Helloween, released their debut album. Kai sang on that, and then Kai, of course, stayed in the band when Keeper of the Seven Keys came along. With Michael, they took the band to another level. Kai left shortly after that. Michael lasted until the mid-90s, I believe it was like 93, 94 when he left. Did a couple more albums with the band. He talks a bit about some of that in the interview as well. And then that's when he left. And throughout those years, between when he left and when he came back, 2016, 2017 is kind of when he came back. The first shows they played together was 2017, 2018 time period. Andy Darris has been the vocalist for Helloween. Lots of great music through that time period. He's got a different style of voice, but still very much power metal. And what the band has done has combined these lineups. The majority of that original or, kind of heyday lineup, the classic lineup, is here now because both Kai and Michael have come back. Michael, the guitarist, and Marcus, the bassist, both original members who have been there this whole time. And the original drummer, unfortunately, passed away. So you've got all the living members of that classic era, Keeper of the Seven Keys, 1 and 2 era lineup in the band now that Kai and Michael have come back. And they came back to a band that included Andy Darris on vocals. Whereas, throughout history, a lot of times whenever a band brings back either its original vocalist or its classic era vocalist, whoever has been the guy since usually gets pushed to the side. But Helloween did what, a lot of us as music geeks do, kind of talk about dream scenarios of bands that have had more than one vocalist, more than one era. How cool would it be to see both eras? The obvious one would have been Van Halen if that had been, possible back before David Lee Roth lost his voice and, of course, previous to Eddie passing. But, there's several scenarios throughout the years where how cool would it have been, and Helloween did that for their fans. So you've got all three vocalists throughout Helloween's history, because the first album, Walls of Jericho, Kai Hansen was the vocalist. He's back now. So you've got the three lead vocalists of Helloween performing live on the same stage. 7 members of this band. Just a great, I haven't personally seen it live, but I've watched live sets online, and it's just fantastic. Something I do want to mention is at the beginning of the interview, Michael asked where I was at. You'll hear this shortly. And when I mentioned Oklahoma, he said he doesn't think, or I mentioned Tulsa specifically, he said he doesn't think he had been here. And I said, I don't remember Helloween ever playing Oklahoma. And obviously, unless it was before I was old enough or paying attention to what was going on. And after the interview, I Googled it and found out that Helloween played in Oklahoma in November of 1987 on a tour with Grim Reaper and Armored Saint. And after I posted online that I had interviewed Michael, Brian Horton, who is a local area, the Tulsa area, kind of like a great ambassador for heavy metal. You know, he's got a record label that isn't just metal, but he's got lots of stuff that he's done throughout the years to help support metal. He's booked shows, done all kinds of stuff. In more recent years, he has the 2 Minutes to Tulsa show that's been going on the past few years, where he celebrates this exact style of music and all kinds of 80s era, a lot of the underground stuff, but power metal and all these genres of metal, as well as newer artists, younger bands that are kind of waving the flag of this style of stuff as well. So check out 2 Minutes to Tulsa, the lineups from the past few years, and be sure to look out for that in 2026. If you're not familiar with that show, if you're a Helloween fan, I promise you'll love these lineups and it'll be worth your trip to Tulsa, Oklahoma. But I say all that because Brian Horton mentioned on the post I made that he had seen Helloween on that exact tour, but he didn't say where. So it's possible he was at that Lawton show. If he's listening to this, he could say in the comments if it was somewhere else. But that lineup would have been fantastic. I'm a massive fan of Armored Saint as well. One of my all-time favorite vocalists is John Bush, who I'll mention in this interview at some point. And Michael talks a great deal, not a great deal, but he talks a bit about Joey Belladonna and how great he believes he is. But all that being said, why am I sitting here telling you what Michael talks about instead of just letting you listen to it? Here is Michael of Helloween.
Where are you based?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Ah, cool. I
Are
don't
you?
even think I've been there before, but I might be.
Yeah, I know Helloween's never been in
Yeah.
Oklahoma that I can remember, at least, unless it was way back.
The most active time. I mean, we've been touring for about 3 or 4 weeks in 23. But the most extensive touring we did was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like 2 months, 2.5 months, West Coast and stuff. But I don't think we've been to your place.
Yeah, it's kind of, notoriously the Midwest of America isn't like the biggest haven for power metal, I guess.
I mean, America in general. I mean, the stuff that we're doing with Halloween is very European.
Yeah,
We're not like the Scorpions who have always had this radio-friendly kind of side to them.
right.
Uh, and Rammstein, I think Rammstein is just such a different beast that it is kind of cool for the Americans because they're fucking huge in America. I mean, it's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked at how big they became. I think it might have been just because they were gone for so long, at least never playing America. And then when they came back after like a couple, what was 15 years, I think, between trips to America, that might have kind of pushed them to another level.
I think it's their like is it the right word? Consistency.
Yeah,
They've been the same band, no member changes over like since the early 90s and have been doing their thing the whole time. And then they did this big circus. America loves big shows, and it has always loved big shows, and that's what they're delivering. But they're also kind of very different in the vibe that they're bringing across. I mean, I have read that they're the most successful band at the moment on the planet in terms of the places they play.
oh, of any genre.
Yes,
Oh
even
wow.
more than the Stones. I mean, they play like twice 80,000 and things like that. Over here in Hamburg, they play like 55, but 2 nights in a row or
Yeah,
3 nights sometimes. It's insane.
yeah, that's wild. Like when you did America in 23, was it since it was like kind of a short run? Did it feel like you wish there was more, or was it just did it just feel like normal touring?
That was great.
Yeah,
We were just basically just testing out
yeah,
what is possible, but it was really nice. And there was some places where we actually even sold not bad. It was like 3,500 in Los Angeles. I didn't even expect that. I don't know if they changed anything this time because we're supposed to play in April again, pretty much the same tour. They might try some other places. I don't know, but it was great fun. I mean, when you got through the hassle of getting into the country, which is sometimes pretty painful, as soon as you're inside the country, America is always a blast. I've always loved it there. People are nice, much more open than the media presents the American image. It's like the average American person is a completely different story than
right.
what people should always go into the countries in general and get their own ideas.
Yeah.
It was great. I really enjoyed. We started in Florida, and we had like 4 days off just right from the start, which was great. So the whole tour started with like 4 days in the sun.
Nice.
That was great.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying because I went to Saudi Arabia for the first time a few years ago to work, and it's kind of the same thing. You have this image that like the America media is always portrayed of the Middle East, and then you
Yeah.
get there and it's like everybody is like just great, everybody's super
Yeah.
nice and happy that you're there.
That's the great thing about my job. Since I'm a teenager, I was traveling the world and going to all those places, meeting the younger generations, and people are great everywhere. You've got idiots everywhere, and you've got great people everywhere. You don't know anything about a country unless you've been there.
Right. You guys, you've got giants and monsters coming out here. You've already got a couple singles out, and they're different style wise. Like, how do you feel that these two songs envelop what people can expect from the new album?
The album is quite versatile. I mean, I mean, I've been doing a whole bunch of interviews in the last couple of weeks, and the feedback is amazing. I mean, we do what we can. We always do the record the way we think it's good. It's great, and when we're happy with it, that's it. That's all you can do, and the rest is not on us. But of course, it makes you happy when there's such a positive feedback. I like this record even better than the previous one. I think it's much more organic. It's not so overloaded. And but it is very versatile, but we have always been quite versatile and always changing. You can hardly compare two records and say that they are the same. I mean, at least that's how I see it. I think it's important to be versatile, but even I mean, when we're talking about the records that I made my sort of career with, the Keeper of the Seven Keys records, when you listen to Keeper Two, it was very versatile. You had I Want Out, Dr. Steen, Rise and Fall. Yeah, you had Eagle
Yeah.
Fly Free, but like We Got the Right was on there too. It's like very different types of songs, and it has always been the case with Halloween. I mean, some people when they hear like a speed metal song, like a typical power metal song, like Universe, they say, "Oh, that's everything's in there that makes Halloween." And I think no, it's part of it, but there's has always been much more, than that. That has always been an element of the band, but we always did a lot more than that.
That's a great point because I immediately would think, Universe is like the typical song you would expect from Halloween, but then you think of all these songs throughout the years, and then like the lead off single is This Is Tokyo, and that's very much like a more of a hard rock melodic type song.
And also the successful ones, the most successful ones were more the poppy ones.
Yeah.
Something like Dr. Steen or I Want Out that have been the most successful ones. And in the time where I wasn't in the band, it's songs like Perfect Gentleman from Andy, for instance, or Forever and One, which is a ballad. These were like they're more accessible, and that's why they tend to be more successful. But to say that the speed metal numbers defines the sound, that's too little. There's more to the band. It was always just something like two or three songs on an album.
I mean, I guess you probably answered it. So do you think that's why This Is Tokyo was decided to be the first single? Because it has more of that kind of single hard rock kind of
I'm
pop
sure. I
vibe to
mean,
it.
it was a decision by our manager, by Artie. I personally would have gone with Universe first. Even just with the lyric video that we did, I would have done that at first and then the other ones. Because as you said, this is more what people expect. And I thought it was a very, very good move when we did the first Pumpkins United record, when we released it in 21, to go with Skyfall,
Yeah,
which is pretty unusual. I mean, long song, with lots of parts, and this it was it's so the opposite to a radio hit, but it worked out perfectly fine. It just made a statement that was working great. I mean, people loved it, and because of that, I would have started with Universe and then come with Tokyo and something like that. But it doesn't really matter. I mean,
right,
like I said, the people are used to that other stuff too. I mean, this is part of this band since I would say since Keeper One. And Walter Jericho, that didn't have anything like that. It was kind of thrashy.
right. But I mean, another song on the album that kind of jumped out at me as like a possible single is a little too much.
Yeah.
And I mean, is that something that has been talked about, or have
Oh
you
yeah.
even been involved with the singles and that kind of thing?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It just has to be. I mean, that song reminds me a little bit of Scorpions. It's like the verse
Oh yeah.
kind of reminds me of the Scorpions. It could be if they would record it, it would work.
I didn't even think about that. It has like a real kind of live, music sing along vibe to it, I think, with the
Yeah,
chorus.
I think especially the verse, the riff and the vocal melody. I can just hear Klaus there.
Absolutely. One of my favorite tracks on here is the ballad Into the Sun.
Ah,
Talk
my.
talk a little bit about how that kind of came together and who like brought that in or who wrote that. And
Yeah, that's my favorite song on the
oh wow.
album.
Okay.
And that was actually written by Andy, and he did that already around the songwriting phase for the first reunion record. So that was a song that we worked on and recorded and finished and everything on the previous record, but they were not that happy with how it changed. They changed the key, made it a lower key. Everything had changed, and then in the end, the song just didn't have the magic anymore that the original version had. So they put the song aside and did it again this time. But this time we kept the original key and kept the original arrangement and just changed some things here and there. But it just didn't work out the production last time. So that's why it is on this one. And this is like definitely one of my favorite songs. Could be used in a James Bond movie. That's the quality I think the song has. I mean, Andy really knows how to write songs. The guy is really good.
That's probably a question you've been asked a lot over the last few years with these two albums is like, how is the writing process work now when you've got all these guys that are great songwriters? And is the process different than it used to be when you're in the band 30 plus years ago?
Yeah, you have more a different kind of material. I mean, we have six potential songwriters in this band. I haven't even tried to write anything because I didn't feel it's necessary.
Okay.
Um, but I could, and it's. I mean, this is luxury. I mean, when you have most of the time when you have a band, you have one or two people writing all the material most of the time. Sometimes you have bands that where people just throw in ideas and then the whole band together makes it a song, but that's rare. Most of the time you have like one, two or three people, and we got six that can write songs. So this is why we had like over 20 songs that were good enough to be on the album, and we worked on it. So the next record is already written.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, but it's great. I mean, what's not to like about having too many songs? I mean, most of the time bands are struggling to get an album done and they look for extra songs, but we certainly don't have any shortage in terms of creativity, and that's great. I think also the band is at a very good place at the moment. That's my only explanation why there were so many songs, so many great songs. It's just a good time.
Is it a thing where each guy would bring in like a fully developed song?
That depends on the
Okay.
songwriter. I mean,
Okay.
everybody's quite different here. Sasha, for instance, does exactly that, what you just said. Everything's completely pre-produced. So I lay vocals on it, or Andy lays vocals on it, whoever he wants to sing on the song, and then you know what it is. Andy is completely different. Andy doesn't want to waste time and energy, so he records the basic idea, like a verse, bridge, chorus, and then he sends it around and wants a feedback. And when everybody says, "Yeah, cool, amazing," then he finishes the song. And then if the feedback is too weak, he just doesn't. So he doesn't want to waste his time. But I think it has to do with confidence. When you are less confident, you want the song to be as good as possible to convince the others. So you produce it completely till the end, so that it's more likely that the band members are impressed by it. And Andy is more confident when it comes to songwriting. He knows what he can do, and the band knows too. So he just makes a rough draft of a song and waits for feedback before he even finishes it. I think to me that shows more confidence.
Yeah.
And Kai, the same thing, usually quite finished, but that's not because of a lack of confidence. I mean, he's very confident, but he just finishes the songs most of the time very quickly.
If it's a song brought in saying it wasn't written by Andy, like how is the process decided on who's going to be the main vocal on this?
That's pretty easy, to be honest. When we started to talk about this idea of doing a reunion with, and in those days it was only talked about two singers. I mean, the idea that Kai is singing came later because Kai wanted to sing,
Yeah.
uh, and we were okay with it. Um, I thought I was expecting it to be much more difficult, but it really isn't. First of all, most of the time, I mean, I would say like 60, 70% of the time, the songwriter has a singer in his mind. You know,
Okay.
I want Michael to sing it, or it's like very often when Andy writes a song, it's a style where you also hear him sing it. It doesn't have to be like that, but there are many situations where I hear the song and I say, "That's such an Andy song. I'm not even going to try it. You know, you got to sing it." And then maybe sometimes he says, well, "Yeah, but I wanted you to sing this and I wanted you to sing that." And then I give it a try. And if it works, then that's how it is. But it is, since the voices are so different, and the vibe between the three of us is so different, it makes it a lot easier to figure out that sounds like Kai. Or it's very rare that we don't know. So everybody tries it and whatever feels the best. It's not like a casting or something like that, where everybody gives it a try and then whoever does it best. It's more like who shines the most, who can shine on the song the most, and lifts the song to the best level. But that's rare. Most of the time, the songwriters know very well. Even when already in the writing process, they plan in, okay, that's the Michael part, or that's an Andy part, or this is something for Kai. Yeah, it's a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Is it lyrically written the same way, like each songwriter would write the lyrics, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay,
But of course, if I sing a song from Waikiki and there's a line in there that I disagree with, I can change it. I just tell him, I don't like that line. Let's change it like that, and he's usually always fine with it. I mean, you have to be able to relate to what you're singing. Yeah, but the songwriter is usually also writing the lyrics. Yeah, yeah,
okay.
that's
Well, when it comes to, like you said, roughly 20 songs, and each guy's, you bringing these music in, and the band's deciding on what's right. Like, is it a collective effort to whittle it down to say 10 or 11 songs to make an album?
um I mean, usually the songwriters love their songs, so we give that away in a sense that we let our manager make a suggestion,
Okay.
because he's more objective than we are. When you produce an album, you're biased. You don't have that distance that you need to be more objective. I mean, I would most of the time I would do things completely different, and I don't know anything about what might work on a record or whatever. I don't even think about it. I have songs that I like, others that I don't like as much or whatever, but that's usually very different to how the others feel. And we kind of we're pretty happy to have Bayati, the manager there. We trust him. We know him for many years and have developed some trust in his opinion, because he was usually right. Um, so it also gives a lot of pressure away. You can give this away and have an input by him, and then of course you have your word. You can disagree with something, but it has come. It has kind of established itself that we usually do what he says because he's usually right. Now there's this my friend is trying to message me,
Okay.
and let me just turn that off. I do that on my iPhone.
Something that's always intrigued me as well, like when it's not a concept album, is how the decision process goes in like making the track order. Is that anything you guys are involved with at all, or is that manager as well?
Sure, but again, we let him make a running order first, but it was I think it was not such a big deal this time because we had so many songs. Um, so there was like already a pre kind of selection going down. That would make sense. I mean, it was still changed till the last minute, but not big time. It was good to have over 20 songs to choose from because you can get an idea of a balanced album. Um, but as I said, it's much better to leave this to the manager and the producers when it comes to the selection of the songs because especially the manager is much more objective and he has and a more objective view at it while we are biased. We have certain favorites and stuff.
Well, you mentioned having those tracks enough for a next album. Is that a Giants and Monsters 2 a possibility, or is that did you just kind of say that because the songs are there?
No, no, well, it could be. I don't know what the
Okay.
title is going to be, but we could have easily made a double album. But we don't want to throw our material away. It's not worth it anymore. CDs don't mean as much anymore today, records. So
Right.
we're not wasting it. We're making another great one whenever we feel like it. But the material is there. But I'm sure they're going to write more songs till then, even then, and we'll probably have 30 songs to choose from.
So I guess that's kind of like this like current like quote unquote reunited lineup is going forward for the foreseeable future is like the permanent lineup of Halloween.
Oh yeah, I mean, if
Okay.
nothing happens, I mean, you just don't. I mean, you never know. Maybe one dies or
Well, yeah.
suddenly someone another one. It's not the case at the moment. At the moment, everything is cool, but you never know, especially when you have intensive individuals in the band like we do.
Yeah.
You never know what happens, but at the moment, we're on a very good place, which I think reflects in the creativity.
You're touring coming up this fall. Like, can fans expect more of these songs from the most recent two albums now that we've got two full lineups or two full albums out with this lineup?
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
you always have to play certain classics. If you don't
Right.
play them, people are
Yeah.
disappointed. So, I mean, of course, we will play a bit from the new record, and I don't know what we play from the previous one. Ah, yeah, we play Skyfall, I think. So yeah, it's going to be a balance, but of course, I mean the most weight will be on the classics. I mean, we've been around for a while, and we have actually asked. We made a poll on various internet platforms, asking the fans what is it that you would like to hear us play. And most of the songs were actually the stuff we're playing anyway, so that we're not so far off from what we thought we should play. But there were also a few songs among those suggestions that we haven't played ever or not for a long time, and we sneak like two or three of those in. So it's going to be interesting. But of course, you got to play a bit from the new album too. I think we played like three songs, four maybe even. I don't
Okay.
remember.
when you're, performing live, like when it comes to like the songs that you weren't a part of, like was there any songs that stood out from that time period that you like really enjoy singing live, or that you
You mean
kind of
from the
wish
old
you'd been a
days?
part of originally, or anything like that?
You mean like from the old days?
No, I meant from like the Andy era songs in a live setting.
I remember. I mean, I think on the first tour, might have been 2018. We played Why, and it happened because it has like the same verse repeated twice before it gets to the bridge. We kind of in the rehearsal room naturally made it a duet because it was almost asking for it. And I thought that was a great song. I mean, a whole bunch of songs. Waiki always wants me to sing Giants. Was it Giants? No, Power. Sorry, Power. Power is we got the power, we got the. Waiki always wanted me to sing it, so I might sing a verse or two there. This is one of the fun things we can do. I mean, now we have a situation that the original singer could sing each song, so we could do it exactly on the album. But it's also fun for some surprises to not do it. To have me sing something they wouldn't expect, or someone else sing a song that they wouldn't expect, or something like that. Of course, we're going to play around with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some live videos of your era songs where like Andy's singing along as well. So like, how was that decision made? Is it just kind of like you said in the rehearsal process, like it just kind of naturally happens?
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
the songs we played on the first tour, I think the basic idea was to get the different areas together, like the Kiske Hansen fans, or the Hansen Kiske fans, and the Andy fans. We wanted to get these together, so we thought it's a good idea to take the classics and have both singer sing it, just to kind of unify it. And it worked out. Obviously, we don't have to do that anymore because I think it is accepted that this is how we do it now. Um, but I think most of the time now it's going to be trying out in the rehearsal room, and whatever feels good. I don't want to sing all the time. I like the idea of being able to get behind the stage and have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Uh, that is something I like to think about. I don't want to sing everywhere. It's nice to have a little break in between and stuff. But I mean, we will play around with this. I think forever. And there's so many things you can do, even in terms of songwriting. I can imagine that it's much more exciting for a songwriter when you have three flavors of
Yeah.
voices that you can work with, to write a song. Makes makes it more interesting. I mean, there are some bands that have always done that, like Kiss, for instance. You always had these
Right.
two main singers, which is very normal when you think about Kiss. That some songs are sung by Gene, the other by Paul. Linkin Park is another band that started right from the start with two vocalists.
Yeah.
So it's not something that wasn't there before, but the way it came together for us is a bit unusual. That we're doing it all together now, and nobody was leaving.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of doing it in the fashion that people like talk about it, like in dream scenarios, like, I wish this band, would
Yeah,
get their original singer back. And Anthrax is one I always thought about that with, if they had Joey Belladonna and John Bush together, how great that would be.
yeah, especially when you have done a whole lot of records with the various singers, and they have a place in the history of the band. So somehow they should be there.
Yeah. Kind of a random note when it comes to live shows. Has there ever been any talk or thought about Helloween performing with an orchestra? Because I mean, we've seen bands, of course, like Metallica and Scorpions and Savatage do this throughout the years, and
I actually
Helloween, of
did.
course, has a perfect sound for that.
I actually did that. I did that twice.
Oh wow,
Um,
okay,
a classic meets rock, which is Matt Sinner.
okay,
That's where I got to know Jolan Turner personally. He was there too. Dee Snider was part of it once. Um, and that the whole idea is playing some of the hit songs of the bands where the singers have been in, and play them with an orchestra. not just an orchestra. You also have guitar and bass and drums, but it's the exciting part is the orchestra. And I did that with Classic Meets Rock, but I also did another one. I don't remember how they called it. That's when I got to know Joey Belladonna, whom I really like. He's a very nice guy. And that was I think the Dutch. It was organized by the Dutch people, and that was another thing with the big orchestra. Yeah, the singer from Testament was there too.
Okay. Chuck Billy.
Um,
Yeah.
Really, yeah, exactly. He was there too. So we've done that. I mean, might happen. I don't know if we feel like we need something very different. Of course, we could do that. We even have songs. I mean, like "Longing" that I did on the Chameleon, or "I Believe" that I did. That was done with an orchestra. I mean, it was when we did the recording of Chameleon, we had 15 people, orchestra people in there playing the stuff.
Oh wow.
I, e- I even still have video footage of that. A lot of people think it's keyboards. No,
Yeah.
it's real.
So and it was recorded live in the studio with you guys?
Not live, but it
Okay.
was it
Well,
was,
I
it
meant
was
like in the same studio with you guys. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was great. It was really good. It was really nice.
Like we talked about already, you've got the new studio album coming out in 2025 has also seen this a live album and a retrospective album. Plus, you guys are touring. Like, what's it feel like after 40 plus years being an active musician along with this band doing such a highly celebrated level this far into your career and life?
Well, I was off for over 20 years. So to me,
Yeah.
it's like what is it, like a second spring?
Yeah.
Do you have that saying in America?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it helps to be really excited about it. I was there when we had the first bigger successes, like around the Keeper records and stuff, and then it was quickly over, and I just took off. I just didn't care for many years and didn't want to have much to do with it and dealt with other things, which was important and it was good and all that, but I had a long break. And then I slowly got back into, and so I'm able to, I think I'm able to appreciate what is happening at the moment more than if I would not have had that long break, I guess. This is it's not it's not a routine in any way. We also don't overdo the touring, not at all. I mean, we've just taken 2 years off. I mean, the last gig that I did with the band was in Mexico in November 23.
Okay.
That was the last show we played. And the next show will be in October this year. So it's like almost 2 years where we didn't play. So we're not overdoing it. We're not burning out, and that keeps it fresh. Um, Also, we can. I mean, apart from North America, we can play great places like big places like small arenas and stuff sometimes, but it's like the smaller size is something like 6 7,000 8,000, and then it goes up to like 14 16, something like that, which is bigger what we used to do in the 80s, but that makes the whole touring thing easier because there's money there, so you can fly better. You can fly business class when you fly overseas, for instance,
Yeah.
which makes a big difference because you feel like dead when you fly in economy because
Yeah.
it's horrible how they make the seats there. I think it's a crime. Um, shouldn't be like that, but that makes a big
I agree.
difference. So when
Yeah.
you stay in nice hotel rooms, especially when you get older, things like that have a lot to do, have an influence on your general vibe and how you feel about it. You know, it's a good time, and it's great to be successful now more than ever. You know what I mean? It's great. It's like when you get older to have more success than ever than the other way around.
I would assume that comes with age as well, because you view the world and yourself different in your 50s than you would have in your 20s.
Oh yeah,
And
of
plus,
course. I mean, you're more mature.
right.
I mean, I was really young when we started. I started to talk with them about joining the band when I was 17.
Wow.
We were like working out the songs, and we recorded the first record when I was 18. course, I mean, we were very young when this started, and of course, you have a different look at it now.
And
When you hopefully you matured a little.
yeah, you've been in the band now longer than you were in your original go round, right? About a year longer,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a bit of a time cheating because of the pandemic.
Oh, true.
That
Yeah.
has, that has cut off something like 3 years. At least that's what it feels like. Where we were not playing live in the phase where that was happening. So that's why it doesn't really feel that long. If you take that off, it's about 5, 6.
Oh, okay.
And then now we do 2 years off. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
active time is not as much as it seems.
Speaking of that, when you're not being active, whether it be, playing live or recording, like what do you do technique
Oh,
wise to like keep your voice healthy?
I need to do more. I have the tendency to not do too much, but I notice that it does me good when I always do a little, just to keep in. So it's not such a you don't I don't need that much preparation before we rehearse. When I stay in shape a little, when I don't sing at all for like over a year, it really goes down. It's like it just takes a while to get the control back. But I always was like that. I remember that there was phases where it's like, especially when I was out of the band the first time, where I was not singing for years, like
Wow.
2, 3 years, not no singing, just dealing with other things. But I also showed a little the place where I was, inside.
How long of a process was that to get it back after going a couple years without singing at all? Because I mean, with a voice like yours, I would imagine that took a while for it to.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say like weeks. I was like, but then again, I I slowly worked myself into it. I mean, the first tours that I did was with Avantasia, and Avantasia has like something like 9 singers there, so you don't sing all the time anyway. You sing little bits and pieces here and there, which makes it easy. But I remember that I got really into singing Elvis.
Okay.
Like I just to as a motivation, I bought some of this old microphones, like the Electro Voice microphone that he was using in 1968, 69, 1970. Until 73, I think he was using that Electro Voice RE15. So I bought a few of those. You were still able to get them just to get into the joy of singing again. So I was like singing Elvis songs more, like lots of Elvis songs, and then after a while I got into other types of songs. I kind of slowly worked my way back into it, but I wanted to do it driven by joy, and that's why I chose the Elvis songs, because I love Elvis, and I it just feels great to sing that material. And it's also good for the voice as a warm up, because it's not very demanding. It's a very resonant, and it warms up the voice great. It was a longer process, but it didn't take that long when it got to the real touring, because then you rehearse with the musicians, and that has its own drive. The dynamic together with the people is always a different thing than when you are on your own.
Well, in like recent times, do you have any specific pre-show like routines you go through?
I just noticed that I don't need to do as much warming up than I always thought I need.
Okay.
That was interesting. It's like when I started to play live with Unisonic, for instance, where I had to sing a whole show. I was actually singing much too much before a show. I was like sometimes an hour Elvis singing and stuff like that, because psychologically I thought I need it. I don't need it at all. It's just totally enough if I sing like one or two Elvis tunes slowly when I'm at the toilet or whatever. You know, That- that's enough. That's enough. Yeah, I'm just more relaxed now, and I think that has to do with it. It was a psychological thing in the beginning that I needed to get over with.
It's always interesting to me because you hear some singers say They talk about warming up for 2 hours beforehand and warming down for 2 hours afterwards. And then you
Ugh.
got someone like Rob Halford who says that he doesn't warm up. So it's just kind
Yeah.
of hard for me
Yeah.
to like imagine like how that, I guess everybody's completely different. So that's the only
Yeah,
way
I
to
think it's
explain that. Yeah.
honestly, I think it's a psychological thing because like I said, I've done the same thing, and I realized I don't need it. I don't need it. I just sing a little bit. I mean, he Halford does a little bit. He does a bit of a shouting before, like he does a little bit. Everybody does a little bit to warm it up, but it's close to nothing. And I realized the same. I don't need it. Joey Belladonna does nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. It's like I remember the last time when I was backstage with him, he was cutting oranges and handing oranges over to me, but there was no warming up.
Wow.
It doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. And I think it has to do, apart from a psychological process that someone might think he needs or she, warm up. I agree with you. Some people are different. Some people sing in a way that is very demanding for their voice and maybe not that natural. So it's even more demanding. So maybe they have to warm up until it works. But if you sing very natural, and and I always said that about Halford. It's his personality that comes through his voice. That's why he was able to sing that hard and heavy he did his entire life. I mean, he was singing so hard, so heavy. I couldn't do that. I mean, if I would sing like that, I wouldn't have a voice anymore after 2 years. But he was able to do that his entire life. Why? It's his nature. It reflects who he is. It's an expression of his personality, and that's why his voice could take it. Everybody's different, but a lot of the stuff that singers believe they have to do to be able to sing is psychological.
I mean, I'm guessing for you it was all pretty natural since you came into Halloween with that voice at such a young age. Like, how young were you when you actually started kind of developing that on your personal side?
Um, I mean, I got into I got into music when I was 9, and that was Elvis. And then later on, it was the Beatles, which was not the fashion music of the time, I know, but that was the stuff that I liked. And I was singing Beatles songs, harmonies with a friend together all the time. We both had guitars and we were singing harmony, the Beatles songs up and down. Until when I was 14, I got excited about metal and hard rock, like Maiden, Priest, Black Sabbath, Metallica. I think it was the Kill 'Em All was the first album they released. And of course, then I formed my own school band, and since I was a Maiden and Judas Priest fan, I was trying to sing a little bit in that direction, but it needed in Queensryche, it needed the warning from Queensryche to get me really going because that album really excited me. The way it's hard to tell. I mean, the type of singing that he's doing there is not so far away from what Bruce Dickinson, for instance, was doing, from the pitch or whatever. But there was a particular energy, like emotional energy in Geoff Tate's singing that completely triggered me. He had this, he had this, the spirit that came across. I always put it in the words saying he sounded like singing is the greatest thing on the planet. Listen, like listen to me. And it was there was so much singing joy in his performance on the warning that really triggered me to really work things out and to learn what I had to learn so that I was able to do this and then of course make your own thing out of it. But that was a key record that really triggered me to know what I wanted to do more precisely.
Very cool. Yeah, I love all the early Queensryche stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It was from another planet.
Yeah. You mentioned Black Sabbath, so I got to ask the obligatory question. Did you see any of the clips from back to the beginning? And was there any part of it that like jumped out to you?
From a Black Sabbath, you mean?
Yeah, from the final Ozzy Black
Oh
Sabbath
yeah,
show.
sure, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was so cool that he was able to do this. That he did this show. I mean, Where have you seen that?
Right.
Someone making a goodbye gig, and then it's like whatever. What was it? Like 2 weeks later
Yeah.
that he left the planet. I think it's amazing. It's amazing that he was able to do that, and we all got to die, you know. And he lived a life on the edge, and I was surprised that he was. I mean, he was surprised that he was still alive. Anyway, I mean, I remember him talking about it in the '80s already. The
Yeah.
interview with Ozzy where he talked about my doctor's just saying, "Why are you breathing?" Because he was always like with alcohol and things like that. So it's amazing that he got that far and he was able to say goodbye like that. So I think he did perfect. It was great.
Yeah, just the band itself, to be able to see four guys that all four original members still alive, after an album that came out 55 years ago and be
Have
able
you
to
seen
get up
have you
there and
seen the footage, the backstage footage? Have you seen that?
yes, yeah.
How everybody behaves? It's like
Yeah.
all these different bands. It doesn't matter if it's Axl Rose or James Hetfield, Steven Tyler. It doesn't matter. Everybody was nice. Everybody was, and it seemed honest. It seemed like really. I mean, I saw that before he died. I saw that backstage footage and just thought has a different spirit than usual. People are kind of like very cozy, like very, very, very warm to each other. And I thought it was really sweet. It had a very special, I wasn't there, but it comes across to the footage that it had a special kind of spirit. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Well, man, I'm absolutely loving Giants and Monsters, and I appreciate you taking the time with me today and looking forward to hopefully getting a chance to finally see you guys live next year.
Yeah, I mean, we will be if we get in, if they allow us in, we planning to play like in April, and maybe we are not so far away from where you are.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. You have a good rest of the day.
There you go, Michael Kiske of Helloween. A massive thank you to Curtis Dewar of C Squared Music for his help in setting that up. And of course, a massive, massive thank you to Michael for taking some time out there to talk to me about everything Helloween's got going on and a bit of history throughout his time, all kinds of stuff. Very easy guy to talk to, as you could tell. I noticed in a few interviews, I kind of looked at before I talked to him that he is always very open and, kind of one of those guys that as a person doing interviews, you kind of hope that the person you're talking to would be like, he's just very talkative, great and open, great answers. So very happy to get Michael on here to talk about Giants and Monsters. Like we said early on, that comes out August 29th. So by the time you're hearing this, if you're hearing this when it drops, you've got basically about a week and a half. If you're hearing this later on and it's out, check it out right now. If you've ever been a fan of Helloween, I'm sure you'll dig this. Like he said, a lot of diversity in it. All the styles that you've come to expect throughout the years from Helloween. And of course, you're getting great vocals from Michael, great vocals from Andy, and exceptional musicianship across the board. So if you're in Europe, UK, and all that, I believe you're getting a lot of shows here later this year, October. America, they haven't announced dates yet, but that should be coming in spring of 2026. One thing I did want to mention that I hadn't before is that usually when I'm interviewing someone and it's an artist that I know, that I personally know someone that is a big fan of, I'll usually hit them up and say, hey, you got any question you would like me to throw in or ask? And I hit up my buddy Luke Nagel. If you're in the Tulsa area, you probably know him. He works tons of shows behind the scenes. He's also got a couple businesses in Pryor and Claremore, FTW, a great game shop. But the man is a massive Helloween fan. Like, I believe he stated it's his favorite band of all time. So I hit him up. And instead of coming back with a couple questions, he sent me a bunch of questions. And, some of them, kind of crossed with questions I already had jotted down, but he threw in a few extra questions there. And the point I'm saying all this is normally when I'm talking in the interview, I'll mention, hey, so-and-so wanted me to ask you this, and I forgot to on one or two of those questions that I ask of Luke's. So I just wanted to give him the shout out right now. Luke Nagel, massive supporter and fan of Helloween. I know he saw them, I believe he said in 23 maybe, or 22, like on a tour. He saw him in Vegas. He also, I believe he saw him in Vakken several years before that. So this dude is as diehard as they come. So a huge shout out to Luke for his love and knowledge of heavy metal and for shooting a few of those questions over for me. If this is your first time listening, there's been obviously 428 episodes previous to this. A few names came up throughout the episode. Michael mentioned Jeff Tate and how big of an influence he was on him. Jeff Tate was on this podcast a couple years ago. That was a really fun one. Michael also mentioned Dee Snider, who was a part of that Rock Meets Classic deal that he was a part of. Dee Snider was on here a few years ago. That was very cool. Michael Stahn, the godfather of melodic death metal, of Dark Tranquillity, and of course In Flames, and now the Halo Effect. He was on here a couple years ago. We've also had on Glenn Hughes 3 times. The most recent time was the very last episode, 428, so go back and click on that. As a longtime fan of Glenn Hughes and everything he's ever done, whether it be the classic stuff with Deep Purple and Trapeze, up through all his solo work, his album with Tony Iommi and Black Sabbath, his other albums with Tony Iommi. If you have not heard those, holy shit. I'm talking Fused and the Depth Sessions, all his Black Country Communion work, all his solo work since California Breed. This guy is a never-ending machine of amazing music and, of course, one of the greatest rock vocalists of all time. That was a long-winded way to say Glenn Hughes has been on here 3 times. We've also had on Dizzy Reed of Guns N' Roses. Gene Simmons of Kiss has been on here. Bruce Kulick, formerly of Kiss. Jack Russell of Great White. Alex Skolnick of Testament. Paige Hamilton of Helmet. Tommy Victor of Prong. A couple members of White Zombie. A couple different members of Clutch. A couple different members of Seven Dust. A few different members of Hatebreed. Kenny Hickey of Typo Negative. Frank Hannon of Tesla has been on multiple times. Tracy Guns. Mitch Perry. Members of more modern rock bands like Shinedown, Hellstorm, Breaking Benjamin, Three Doors Down, Saliva have all been on this podcast. Lots of 80s rock, such as, I've already mentioned a few of those, but there's also been members of Kix, LA Guns, Mark Slaughter, Firehouse, Warrant, Whitesnake, Motley Crue, Billy Idol, members of Living Colour, Leonard Skinner, few different members of Alice Cooper's band, one of which being Beasto Blanco himself, Chuck Garrick. He was recently announced as filling in on bass for the upcoming live shows that the Scorpions are doing. So I guess I can now say that a member of Scorpions has been on this podcast. Not really. That's a little loosely based, but if you want to get real loose, members of Ozzy have been on this podcast. As Michael talked about his appreciation of Ozzy, who, as most of us have talked about in recent weeks. But Brian Tishy, a phenomenal, underrated drummer who has worked with a lot of guys throughout the years, played with Ozzy briefly in the 90s, as did Dean Castronova, who is most well known from being in Journey. He's been on this podcast, and that was a great conversation. So much stuff across the board. If you like it heavier, I mentioned some bands, but also, I think I said Alex Skolnick of Testament. We've also had members of Death Angel, Megadeth, Crowbar. The list is great and long. I'm going to quit rambling, let you just dig through it yourself if you're interested. If you're still listening, hopefully you are. thethunderunderground.com. You can see you can listen right there. You can see all the socials. So click on those, give me a follow. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok are the ones that get the most posts, and I post on those pretty much every day, sometimes multiple times a day, with tons of content that have nothing to do with these episodes of the podcast. Of course, there's clips from the podcast, but I post daily, whether it be music news, music facts, funny shit, it doesn't matter. So give me a follow on all those so you can check out that stuff as well. Wherever you're listening right now, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Google, YouTube, wherever. Click follow, like, subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And speaking of future episodes, I've got a few lined up set to record, but I don't like to announce things until they officially happen, just in case it falls through for some reason. So once those are recorded, of course, official announcements will be all over the socials. Another reason to give it a follow. All right, let's cut this. I'm sure you're tired of my voice. Once again, a massive thank you to DEB Concerts, Sunset Tattoo, Rocklahoma Bitches, C Squared Music, and of course Michael Kiske of the mighty Helloween. And until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.